Why do you think we've seen so many game successes from Finnish developers?
I think there's a few factors driving Finnish success. When we look at kind of the macro level, Finland has a very good educational system. We're a very small country with minimal domestic markets, which means immediately that we need to go international. We need to reach into wide markets. That might be North America, might be Asia, might be the rest of Europe, and so forth. But we need to do that from the get-go. So there's that, the good education, and then I think on the other hand, we've been very lucky. I mean, many times, there's an overnight success, but most overnight successes have started 10 years ago. And if we look back 10 years, going back to like 2004 or so, Nokia was putting a lot of money into research and engineering and founding technologies, and programming was in our universities was doing well. Even before that, we had the demo scene, which was one of the earliest computer scenes in Europe, where people would compete for doing graphical combos and stuff like that, and running kind of leading edge 3D stuff, for example, on very, very minusculely not very powerful computers, but milking the power out of that. And that kind of heritage, that background, and these factors together have been contributing. And I think on the whole, if you look at the breakthroughs of the last years and kind of the potential there, we see kind of the opportunity of digital distribution also emerging, where a lot of the middlemen in the value chain can be removed, for example, where you can actually have global access with a small team from anywhere, as long as your content is good. Whereas in the previous, kind of in the old world, it was the buyers of Walmart or large retailers who had a lot of power, and you needed a publisher to make sure that you had shelf space and blah, 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 and everybody was taking a cut along the way. And obviously that leads to de-risking many times of, people want to make sure that whatever is in stock is sure and it'll sell and blah, blah, blah. So not a lot of innovation or risk gets taken in the old model. Whereas in the new model, it's about the quality of your content. If you're brave enough, and if you're smart enough, and you're aggressive enough, you can create good content and people will come to it and return to it.
How do you think Finnish cultures influence games developers make here?
It's interesting to see kind of, for us certainly at Remedy, we're a Finnish company. This is where we've kind of been founded and established. But our audience, 99% of our audience is outside the country or more. And I think for us, we've always considered ourselves an international studio. I mean, today we have team members maybe from 16 or 17 different countries, half a dozen from North America, maybe a dozen from the UK. Working here on site, members from Spain, France, Germany, Sweden. We even get along with the Swedes. So there's that. But I don't know. I mean, for me, I think it's more about the culture of the kind of and the work ethic of the studio. I think we value our people. We try to take care of them, and ultimately they'll take care of the audience. I think on the other hand, there's also an understated kind of determinants and longevity of what we wanted to do. It's not really driven by quarterly thinking or immediate gains. I think it's more kind of playing for a long-term win. Doesn't mean that you're complacent and you don't look for results in the short term, but it means you're determined to see it through. And in Finnish, we have a word for that. It's called sisu. Kind of, it doesn't really have a direct translation, but it's more about determination, perseverance, and raw grit. And I think we do demonstrate that here and at other studios in Helsinki.
You think the help that you get from the government is what helps that versus a private enterprise system like in North America where they're looking for quick results?
I think there are a few factors. I mean, TEKES, certainly the Technology Fund of Finland, has been very, very helpful in driving the opportunities in the game space, allowing people to take calculated, reasonable risks and investments for longer-term gain. Like, for example, investing into emotionally engaging characters, and being able to find novel ways of doing that where others have failed, but you're able to take a little extra time and build that, and then have something that you can use for multiple different things. I think it's just a matter of time before those emotionally engaging characters start appearing on pads, and I think that'll be really, really interesting. But yeah, I mean, I think on the whole, the Finnish system is different. I mean, we do have kind of VC here as well, but until as of late, I have to say that we haven't really had a very developed venture capital market. It's not the Silicon Valley or whatever, and just that wasn't happening. But I think that's changing slowly, and we're seeing entrepreneurs who've been successful put money back into funds, and lo and behold, a few success cases, and all of a sudden there's more interest and more focus. So at this point in time, I think there's plenty of capital available for those with a valid business case. But the government's role and Techus's role has been very helpful. There are other ways of doing it. I mean, if you look at different countries, they might have tax breaks for certain industries and so forth. Ours is modeled differently. I think it's better for a few reasons. Not least of all, it's directed at specific specific ventures, not category bets and stuff like that. So I think there are multiple ways of looking at it. For me, entertainment is never a category bet. It's an IP bet or it's a talent bet, and that's just the way it is. If you look at film or books or anything, it's about talent and IP.